Have you ever wondered how the life of a royal mistress in the 16th, 17th, and 18th century Europe unfolded? The intriguing world of royal mistresses is a captivating tale of power, passion, and politics. These women, often ensnared in a complex web of love, ambition, and intrigue, played a significant role in the royal courts of Europe. In the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, societal norms were vastly different from today. Although marriage was a contract often sealed for political alliances, love was sought elsewhere. The royal mistress, a term that may seem scandalous by today's standards, was then a recognized and influential role within the royal court. These women were not simply objects of the king's affection, they were astute players in the chess game of court politics. With their charm and wit, royal mistresses often wielded substantial power and influence, shaping the course of nations and history. The blurred lines between politics and personal affairs made their position precarious, yet incredibly significant. Consider the royal courts as a stage where the kings were the actors and the royal mistresses were the scriptwriters. They orchestrated the drama, influenced decisions, and often were the real power behind the throne. But it wasn't all about power and politics. These women were also trendsetters, influencing fashion, art, and culture. They were patrons of the arts, fostering creativity and innovation, leaving a lasting legacy that transcends time. Yet their lives were not devoid of challenges. Navigating through societal norms, managing royal egos, and surviving court intrigues required a delicate balance of diplomacy, intelligence, and resilience. So, who were these women who dared to challenge societal norms, who loved and were loved by kings, who wielded power behind the throne? What were their stories? How did they rise to such influential positions? Now let's journey back in time and explore the lives of some of these influential women. The 16th century was a time of great change, and for royal mistresses it was a dangerous game of power and survival. In the courts of Europe, women like Anne Boleyn and Diane de Poitiers were making their mark. Anne Boleyn, a woman of charm and wit, came from a family of minor nobility. Her quick mind and captivating presence soon caught the attention of King Henry VIII. Rising from a lady-in-waiting to the Queen's throne, her journey was both a thrilling ascent and a perilous fall. Her reign as Queen ended with her execution, a stark reminder of the perils of royal favour. Across the English Channel, in the court of the French king, Diane de Poitiers reigned supreme. A woman of extraordinary beauty and intelligence, Diane was the beloved mistress of King Henry II. Despite being 20 years his senior, she held an unwavering influence over the king. Diane's position brought her immense wealth and power, but it also attracted the envy and ire of many at court. Being a royal mistress in the 16th century was a precarious balancing act. These women had to navigate the intricate webs of courtly politics, maintain the king's favour, and fend off rivals. Their positions, while glamorous and influential, were never secure. A royal mistress could find herself cast aside, or worse, if she fell out of favour. Yet, despite the risks, these women also wielded a considerable amount of power. They could influence the king's decisions, shape courtly politics, and amass wealth and lands. For Anne and Diane, their roles as royal mistresses allowed them to leave their mark on history, influencing the course of their respective nations. Their stories serve as a potent reminder of the high-stakes game these women played. The rewards were grand, but the risks were grave. In the world of royal courts, the line between a queen's throne and the executioner's block was perilously thin. As we can see, the 16th century royal mistress's life was far from dull. In the 17th century, some royal mistresses became the power behind the throne. Louise de la Vallière and Madame de Montespan are two prime examples of such influential figures within the French court. These women were not merely the king's lovers. They held sway over the affairs of the nation, wielding an influence that would shape the course of history. Louise de la Vallière, born into minor nobility, was initially a lady-in-waiting to the king's sister-in-law. Her modesty and piety caught the eye of King Louis XIV, and she soon became his chief mistress. Despite her lack of political ambition, Louise's close relationship with the king allowed her to gently influence his decisions, making her an unintended power player in the French court. Then there was Madame de Montespan, a woman of sparkling wit and charm. She was the antithesis of Louise, ambitious and unapologetically extravagant. She replaced Louise as the king's favourite and quickly made her mark. Madame de Montespan was a consummate courtier, using her charm and intelligence to manipulate court politics. Her influence over the king was such that she could sway his decisions on matters of state, effectively making her a co-ruler in all but name. But it wasn't all lavish parties and glamorous gowns. Being a royal mistress was a dangerous game. The court was a hotbed of intrigue, and the politics could be cutthroat. A mistress who fell out of favour could find herself cast aside, her power gone as swiftly as it had come. These royal mistresses, though they existed in the shadows of monarchy, held an undeniable influence over the kings they loved and the courts they graced. Their roles were more than just romantic ones. They were vital components in the political machinery of the time. These women were not just mistresses, they were power players in the political landscape of their time. As we move into the 18th century, we enter what could be considered the golden age of mistresses. Indeed, this was an era where women like Madame de Pompadour and the Princesse de Lamballe, a close friend of Marie Antoinette, came to prominence. These women were not just mistresses, but powerful figures who shaped the political landscape of their time. Madame de Pompadour, born Jeanne Antoinette Poisson, was a woman of humble beginnings. She was educated at a convent and later in a private school where she honed her wit and charm. Her intellect and beauty caught the eye of King Louis XV, and she quickly ascended to the position of royal mistress. But Pompadour was more than a pretty face. She was a patron of the arts, encouraging artists and writers of her time. Her influence extended to the realm of politics, where she was a trusted advisor to the king. Now, let's shift our attention to the Princesse de Lamballe. Born Marie-Thérèse Louise of Savoy, she was a lady-in-waiting to Marie Antoinette. Their friendship blossomed into a close bond, and Lamballe became an influential figure in the court. She was known for her unwavering loyalty to the Queen, a loyalty that would ultimately lead to her tragic demise during the French Revolution. But during her time at court, she wielded considerable influence, advising Marie Antoinette on matters of state and navigating the treacherous waters of court politics with finesse. Both these women, Pompadour and Lamballe, were not born into power. They were ordinary women who, through wit, charm, and a keen understanding of court politics, rose to become influential figures in the royal court. They navigated a world fraught with danger, where a misstep could lead to downfall, yet they emerged as the power behind the throne. The 18th century saw some of the most influential and powerful royal mistresses in history. Indeed, it was the golden age of mistresses, a time when women had the power to shape history, not just from the throne, but from the position of a royal mistress. From the 16th to the 18th century, royal mistresses played a pivotal role in European courts. They were not simply the clandestine lovers of kings. They were political powerhouses, cultural influencers, and sometimes the unseen hand steering the course of history. Throughout our journey, we've encountered the mesmerizing stories of these women, from the captivating Diane de Poitiers in the court of Henry II of France, to the audacious Madame de Pompadour, who rose from humble beginnings to become a beloved figure in the 18th century French court. Each woman, in her own unique way, wielded an influence that extended far beyond the private chambers of the king. These women were not just participants in the game of power, they were often its most skilled players. They navigated treacherous political waters, brokered alliances, and influenced policies, often shaping the course of nations. They were patrons of the arts, promoting culture and intellectual thought at a time when women's contributions were often overlooked. They were in the thick of it all, shaping and being shaped by the tumultuous times they lived in. Their stories, fraught with passion, intrigue, and power, reflect the complexities of the human experience, offering us a richer, more nuanced understanding of our past. Their lives serve as a reminder that history is often shaped not only by the actions of kings and queens, but also by those who operated behind the scenes, those whose influence, though less visible, was no less significant. Thank you for joining me on this royal journey. Next, we explore the lives of the mistresses' children with the kings. What were the lives of royal bastards really like? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this history channel. Until next time, keep loving history and stay curious.